Hello and welcome to another spoiler movie review from me here at World of Stew. And I have finally got round to watching the latest addition to the DCEU, or Detective Comics Extended Universe, their kind of answer to the MCU, in the form of Wonder Woman. Now, I'm a bit behind the curve on this one. I'm sure most of you have already seen the film and have formulated your own opinions on it. But here, for what it's worth, is my take. Now, the DCEU thus far has been pretty unimpressive, and I am loath to say that because I am. See, I always tell people I'm a DC guy as opposed to a Marvel guy, and I'm not really a DC guy, if I'm being honest. I'm a Batman guy. Batman is my dude. Yes, I am wearing a Batman vs Superman t-shirt, which came free in Loot Crate or one of those pointless boxes when I tried those out. But I'm not really into other DC franchises. I'm not really a Superman fan. The Justice League, I can give or take. I enjoy The Flash in the TV show. But in terms of comic books, Batman is my guy. My comic book collection is vastly comprising of Batman comics, like the entire run of Legends of the Dark Knight, for instance. So I'm not really a company man, shall we say, because I quite enjoy the X-Men as well in terms of comic books. In terms of movies, I would have to say I am a Marvel guy because Man of Steel was terrible. Batman vs Superman was terrible. Suicide Squad had all the potential in the world, but guess what? It was terrible. And then we had the trailer for the Justice League, in which Cyborg looks god awful, and I've just got a really bad feeling that that film is also going to be, that's right, terrible. Now, some of this is because of the fact that I've fallen out of love with superhero movies to a certain extent. Doctor Strange was okay. I'm not really overly bothered about going to see the Spider-Man film because I don't really need a new Spider-Man right now. And whilst I'm sure there's not much of an origin story in there, there's going to be something of an origin, I would imagine. And if there isn't, fair enough, but I really don't need new Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was fine, but I got turned off right from the very beginning when they basically just put that dancing group bit at the beginning, just for the sake of it, because everybody loved dancing group at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. So we come to Wonder Woman. Now, the thing that strikes me first about this film and kind of put my back up a little bit was the fact that everyone made such a song and dance and a massive hoo-ha about it being a female superhero and being directed by a female director and a powerful female lead, because apparently females don't get the kudos and the coverage in Hollywood that their male counterparts do. Now, I will take that argument and I will raise you an Ellen Ripley, and I will raise you a Katniss Everdeen, and I will raise you whatever the name of the character was in not the Maze Runner, the other one to the Hunger Games. I have no idea what it's called now, can't think of it. But there are plenty of strong female characters. And whilst, yes, this is the first female superhero movie, I don't really see that it's that big a deal. A superhero movie is a superhero movie. And I don't care who directs it. I don't care if it's the first female one. It's just got to be good. Now, I had my hopes up when this film came out because Wonder Woman was probably the best part of Batman vs Superman. Although that's not saying much, is it? Because most of that film was absolute shite. So we come into this film and it's basically, the movie starts with a sort of a quick whiz through Wonder Woman, Diana Prince's life from being a child, growing up to be a warrior. And there's some dark secret that her mum is keeping from her. Because obviously, as we know from this movie and from comic books, if you're into your comic book lore, Wonder Woman was made from clay and brought to life by the god Zeus. Then there was all this backstory about Ares being the sort of evil god that killed all the other gods. And there was this weapon that was created by Ares and given to the Amazonians. Of course, Hippopotama. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her name properly, but Wonder Woman's mum. She's given this weapon, and we're led to believe that it's a sword that can kill Ares if he comes back. Now, from this, you kind of get the gist that the big bad is going to be Ares in this film, which kind of gives it a sort of Thor vibe, because obviously Thor is all about the gods. From here, we get the Nazis, because of course it's always the damn Nazis, isn't it? They turn up on Themyscira, where the Amazonians live. Steve Trevor turns up, played by Chris Pine, who I don't really rate that much as an actor. He doesn't really blow me away in this film. Wonder Woman saves him. Then there's a bit of a little battle. And the Nazis obviously get beaten. Some of the Amazonians die. And then Wonder Woman decides, do you know what? Screw this. I've heard now that there's a world war. So I am going with Trevor Stephen to fight this war. Or Stephen Trevor. Is it Trevor? No, it's Trevor Stephen, isn't it? I'm going to go and fight this war and save people, basically. Much to her mother's chagrin. Now there's this, before we carry on with the rest of the plot, there's some moments in this particular sequence in the film where there's a battle and all the rest of it, where the immediate problems of this film are evident, and they become more evident as the film goes on, and they are twofold. Number one, CGI. Oh my god, the CGI in this film is terrible in places. When people are jumping through the air and doing battles, it's not quite, but it's almost as bad as the scene in The Matrix Reloaded, where Neo is fighting all of the Agent Smiths in that little plaza area. And some of the CGI there is obviously ropey as, but I let that slide because I love the Matrix movies. But here, it's slightly better than that, but when you consider how many years have gone by, it's pretty bad in places. And the second issue, which raises its ugly head here and will appear time and time again in this film, slow motion. Every single time there is a battle in this film, it goes to slow-mo. Did they have some sort of contract with the team that makes the slow motion part of the film, that they had to have so many slow motion? Did they have a deal with a slow motion dealer, if there was such a thing as a slow motion deal? It's ridiculous. Every single time there's a fight, it goes slow motion. Now, I've seen Batman vs Superman a couple of times, and I don't recall there being a lot of slow motion in that film, and also in Suicide Squad. I think there's a little bit of slow motion in Suicide Squad, but not a great deal. There's everywhere in Wonder Woman, and by the time you get halfway through the film, you're like, stop with the slow motion, for fuck's sake, just stop with the slow motion. Pardon my language, by the way. So the CGI and the slow motion just take you out of this film so bad, which is a shame, because overall the film itself isn't that terrible. It's certainly not Batman vs Superman terrible, or Suicide Squad terrible. It is definitely the best film at the DCEU so far, but it's not as fantastic as some people are raving it to be. So they leave, they go to London. There's a bit of comedy with the secretary for Trevor Stephen, and if I'm saying his name wrong, if it's Stephen Trevor, I really should have double checked that before I came on. I think it's Stephen Trevor, isn't it? Stephen Trevor? No, Trevor because Trevor's not a surname, is it? Trevor Stephen. So there's some comedy with his secretary and Wonder Woman's sword. And then, I don't know if you saw my video for, what was the film I watched the other day? Alien Covenant, where I said that I'm not very good at spotting plot twists in films. I don't see the ends of films come in. Alien Covenant, it was obvious what was going on, and in this film it is blatantly obvious from the first third of this film where it's going in terms of the big bad. There's this English guy, Sir Percival or something like that. They give him some generic English name, and he basically goes against the UK government and helps them go off on this mission to try and stop Dr. Poison, who's like this evil Nazi scientist who's creating this mustard gas which is going to like kill millions of people. The thing is, as soon as he turns against the government and he helps them, you know, and here's a plot twist spoiler for you, you know he's going to turn out to be Ares in disguise. Well, not really disguise, he's just Ares. So it's obvious it's coming. I saw it coming, and I am terrible at spotting these things. So they go off to Germany. Wonder Woman battles the Nazis. She goes into no man's land and basically kicks everybody's ass. Then they go into this little town and they have this battle again with this bad CGI and slow motion. Jesus Christ, slow motion everywhere. And another thing that irritated me was Trevor Stevens' team. When he gets them together, it's like one of them is, I guess he's from Morocco or something like that, so he must wear a fez. One of them played by the guy that played Spud in the two Trainspotting films, whose name escapes me right now, but he's playing Scotsman, so he has to wear a kilt. It's like putting racial stereotypes back 500 years. Now, I know that this was back in the World War II, but just stop it. It's terrible. So they save this town. They go off to the base. Oh, there's this evil Nazi leader who's been given this gas by Dr. Poison, which makes him like crazy strong. It like messes with him and makes him incredibly strong, which I'm pretty sure we've seen in at least one, if not two or three different Marvel movies, a similar thing with crazy scientists taking drugs and making themselves strong. But anyway, they defeat him, they kill him. There's lots of death in this film, but there's no blood, really. There's a scratch on Wonder Woman's arm, which is red, but all the stabbing and all the murdering that they do, you never see any blood. But then this film is a 12 or a 12A, I think it might be. So there was going to be very much a restriction on the amount of gore that you were going to get in this film. Turns out, of course, that Sir Percival, whatever his name, that's obviously not his name, but Sir Percival, we're calling him for the benefit of this review, is Ares, and of course that the God Killer weapon is not the sword, it's Wonder Woman herself, because she's got some secret crazy power inside her, which of course she eventually unleashes. Oh, I should just point out as well that the town that they save and proves ultimately fruitless because the gas gets released and everybody dies anyway. So, well, I think that's basically just a plot device to try and show Wonder Woman that man is just evil and there's not a lot you can do about it because we are always just going to kill each other. It's just an endless cycle of death and violence. So, of course, they beat Ares in the end and go off. Trevor Stevens sacrifices himself for the greater good. And then the rest of the team and Wonder Woman are sort of paying homage to him at the end of the film. So that's Wonder Woman. There's no post-credit sting in this one because DCEU aren't doing that. I think they want to kind of differentiate themselves from the MCU. What did I think of the film? It's not a bad movie, Wonder Woman, don't get me wrong. Is it my favourite superhero movie? No. Is it better than some of the Marvel movies that have been put out? Absolutely. It's definitely better than Iron Man 2 and 3. It's probably better than Doctor Strange, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the likes of the Captain America films or even Ant-Man. It's obviously the best DCEU movie. It's a lot better than Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel and Suicide Squad. And it's probably going to be a lot better than Justice League because from what I've seen of the Justice League trailer, just no. Yes, Gal Gadot is perfectly fine as Wonder Woman. She's a kick-ass actor. Apparently, somebody told me she used to be in the Israeli Secret Service or something like that, which means she can actually properly kick your ass. So hopefully she'll never see this video because I don't want to be on her hit list. it's just this. See, I don't want to be down on it because people just watch these videos and think, oh, it's just another negative review. And I'm trying not to be negative about it. But the CGI, bearing in mind this is Warner Brothers that are behind this, so they have got plenty of time and plenty of money to get things like that right. And again, I hate to bring it up again, but slow motion. So much slow motion. Of course, anyone that speaks badly of this film is going to get called a misogynist or say that they're being anti this film because it's a powerful woman and it's a female director. But in this case, that's absolute bollocks. Because as I said, I don't care who directs it. I don't care that it's a female superhero film. I just want it to be good. Now, I didn't score Alien Covenant in my last video. If I was giving it a score, it'd probably be about a 6 out of 10. In terms of Wonder Woman, I'm going to give it a 7. Maybe an 8. I can't remember what score I gave Suicide Squad and the other films, but it's definitely more deserving of a score higher than them. So I suppose I should really get my ass in gear and go and watch Spider-Man, although I can't really be bothered, but you know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the one superhero movie I am looking forward to this year is We Know Each Other. He's a friend from work. Can't wait for that film, Thor Ragnarok. But that's it for this review. It's been a bit of a long one, so I will see you all next time. And until next time, keep it geek.